Hey folks. Over the past few months, I've really picked up a fascination and great interest in the world lore of Zelda games. In particular, the latest installment, Tears of the Kingdom. Environmental details and mysteries, ruins left without answers, and just looking at the world itself and its lore, from ghost towns across Hyrule to unmarked ruins of the past. I love talking about things from an in-game perspective, as if I'm recording my own wee documentary. In today's video, we return to look at some mysterious unmarked ruins that you might have missed in Tears of the Kingdom. Locations across Hyrule which have fallen into ruin for one reason or another, but aren't marked on the map as anything despite holding many points of really interesting detail. Over the past few world lore videos, I've been reading your comments and ideas to expand these videos beyond my speculation and ideas, ways to further think about what these ruins were and how they functioned back in their prime, how they fell, if they fell, and all of that fun stuff. Also, real quick before we dive in, allow me to plug my Discord server, where you can chat to myself and many other awesome Zelda fans. I'm also going to plug my Twitter, where I ask questions, post banger tweets, and love interacting with you. With that plugged, let's visit a few ruins and talk about what they might have been like back in their day. As always folks, be sure to go and grab yourself a snack and or drink, and let's explore these mysterious and unmarked ruins of Hyrule. The first mysterious ruin I'd like to visit today can be found not far from Hateno village. A little down the road through Midla Woods and up the Hyrule Plateau on the high cliffside, there's an old, mostly crumbled into pieces, mysterious building here. It shares the architectural style of the Hylian outposts found all over the kingdom. Grey stonework with little Hylian symbols engraved into the walls, pillars, archway entrances, and compact spaces on the inside. These ruins aren't marked as anything, and understandably so, as they are rather small and you'd assume insignificant as you walk by, and potentially don't even notice them, but they interest me enough to have a look. In this day and age, we can find the sign of a camper or traveller who must have stayed the night here. Hateno is just down the road, but sure, it seems nice here too. So what was this wee ruin back in its day? Well, going off the design and style, I would have to assume it was something similar to the outposts. So presumably inhabited by Knights of Hyrule or somebody working for the royal family. Given its position of height and viewpoint over Hateno village and the pathways leading up to it, it's possible that this was once some sort of outpost or guard watch area, keeping an eye on anybody trying to sneak in something they shouldn't, or be doing something they shouldn't. Especially with the ruins down the hill, which we may or may not be talking about later in the video. It's also possible that it was more of a security checkpoint for anybody travelling up this higher pathway. Maybe this was a delivery route and guards checked and or inspected incoming deliveries to Hateno village. It's hard to say for absolute sure, but going off the location and design, it surely had to be something along these lines. A cool feature I really want to point out is that going outside through the back entrance leads you to this really pretty waterfall and pond, perhaps a quiet space for guards on their break. Oh, and hello there, Lil Korok. So cute. As for how this ruin came to be, I don't think the Great Calamity would have done much damage, at least not to this extent, as we know the onrushing Guardians didn't make it this far. Whilst monsters did and have set up camps nearby, I don't think they did this either, at least not fully. They are equipped with explosives, so it's entirely possible I suppose, but I think the main reason it looks so broken down is just due to time. Over time, and not being tended to anymore, it fell into decay, and now ruin. Monsters have come and gone. Travellers stayed and left. To many, this is probably just an insignificant little ruin, but to me, it hides stories which are unseen to us, and that is really fascinating to think about. On the outskirts of the Death Mountain area, we can find a few random ruins dotted around, some marked, others not. One in particular, which is rather small and unmarked, is this little mysterious nook between the rocky terrain containing 6 small buildings, or rather the remains of buildings. A quiet little pass on the route, just down the road from the woodland stable and a former settlement pre-calamity, Raru Settlement Ruins. We find what I'm calling Tribly Ruins, a presumably passerby settlement on the route towards both the path up Death Mountain and the path taking you to Zora's Domain. The 6 buildings lay near fully destroyed. We can assume this is the result of the Great Calamity, as unfortunately Guardians did make it this far, as well as the large influx of monsters that terrorized the kingdom during that awful period. I'm not 100% set on these necessarily being homes. I'm not ruling it out, but given there was a settlement just down the road, I'm open to the possibility that perhaps these were shops or trading buildings. But hey, that could just be my imagination running free. Perhaps it was some small homes, or a shop or two, somewhere that sells remedies and items to aid in the journey up the daunting and hot Death Mountain Trail. Those that lived or worked in this little nook probably worked either by the Hylia River just round the corner for fish, or worked with the rock coming from Death Mountain, perhaps mining gems and goods. It's a very small unmarked ruin, and probably one of those that genuinely wasn't all that much back in its prime. But regardless, these homes and livelihoods of those that once inhabited them were ripped away by the devastating calamity. It's quiet, but not too far away from the larger civilization. This area would have been lovely back in the day. It's unlikely we'll see it repaired anytime soon. If anything, it'll probably be demolished and forgotten in time. A sad, but likely possibility. Moving over to the eastern coast of Hyrule, in the shadows between Zora's Domain and Mount Lanayru, we can find Samasa Plain and some mysteriously unmarked ruins. Located just next to a large Skull Tower monster camp, these ruins share a key feature to somewhere we visited earlier by Hateno village. These ruins are the same grey, outpost style, the same architecture and rough layout, but on a larger scale. The actual location of these ruins are a bit out of the way. It isn't necessarily difficult to reach, but it isn't connected to any main paths or even dirt trails going off the main. It's manageable, but it's not somewhere people seem to have visited or passed by on their travels. This hints at what these specific ruins were possibly once for. Looking at the general setting, these ruins are next to this entrance point on the eastern coastline. Something else we know regarding the coastline is that there was once a large watch point to guard and defend against potential invaders, but also presumably anyone new to Hyrule, just to ensure they aren't a threat to the kingdom. This place was the Akala Citadel, and it covered the northern face of the coastline. So what I'm thinking is that this little ruin here could have been a smaller sort of security, defense outpost for anyone travelling into Hyrule from the sea. Lanayru Bay could have been a very tactically good area to try and sneak in if threats wanted to, or even non-threats just looking to enter the kingdom to trade or settle. This ruin might have acted as something to handle that. That would be the duty of the Knights of Hyrule, and as mentioned, these ruins do share that style and architecture. They also appear to have been a lot bigger back in their day. Whilst what we see is this section here and a little room up on this hill, the full extent of these ruins spans all the way back to where the enemy campsite is. This means that when this place was fully operational, it extended throughout this entire area to some degree, perhaps a mix of open areas and indoor. There's also the possibility it acted as an exchange ruin. We see other exchange ruins in Hyrule, such as the Marita exchange ruins towards Hebra in the west of Hyrule. There is a chance this space was used for simply just defense, welcoming, and trade. There's also a fair chance it was occupied by a mix of Hylian and Zora guards due to how close this is to Zora's Domain, but also how fantastic the Zora are in the water. That's why I imagine these ruins once were, probably somewhere that guards would have stayed at for short periods of time, and then went home for extended periods of time to rest. The route is a little rocky, but there is also the option of sailing down the Ratala River to reach Kaponga village. Whether this place fell purely due to the calamity or a mix of that and neglect, it's unclear. What is clear is that monsters now call this unmarked location home, and given the current condition of the kingdom, whilst on the up, it's unlikely that this will be fixed up anytime soon. Returning to the surrounding area of Hateno village, this next mysterious ruin, which is surprisingly unmarked in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, can be found just down the hill from Hateno village. This little circuit, or ring around the trees, contains a few different ruins which appear to make up whatever this little area was. From a waterlogged building by the pond, to a main building in the centre, fencing all around, and little bits and pieces dotted all over. Oh, and of course a still intact hut with some old pots and a bed. There are a few different things that spring to mind when I think about this little circuit. The first, and one I think many players think of, is that it's very fun to ride around on horseback. That's why I dub it the Hateno Circuit. Once again, we see this familiar grey stone design. Yes, it is copy and pasted around the kingdom a lot, but for good reason. There once was a lot of these little and large buildings set up all across Hyrule. Paired with the dotted around ruins by the pond and up on the hill, along with the fact this is on the direct route to Hateno village, I imagine this little area was some sort of trading hub, both for travellers coming to Hateno, but also those who live in the village and come down to sell their goods. Hateno has a few different crop patches and a farm with cattle, so it's very likely that the produce from here wasn't brought all the way to central Hyrule and beyond directly, but rather sold here and delivered by merchants. This also goes for goods and materials such as wood, metal, weapons, tools, and so on. Maybe a cheeky wee Midna body pillow? Who said that? Who said that? Not me. Anyway, I feel like that is most likely what this little circuit was for, especially given the great distance Hateno village is from central Hyrule and every other major settlement across the kingdom. I imagine there were also some guards here, but on a much smaller scale than the security focus outpost, such as the one above here, that we discussed earlier. It's been out of commission for some time now by the looks of it. Mostly due to neglect, as the Great Calamity didn't quite hit Hateno. However, the results of the monster influx might have also affected its fall off and decay. Perhaps in the near future, as things get back on track in terms of fixing the kingdom up, this little ruin will be repaired and back in use. The last mysterious unmarked ruins I'd like to visit and explore in today's video can be found in central Hyrule. Funny that, because you'd think those are the easiest and most known ones to cover, and for the most part you'd be entirely correct. However, I somehow passed by these ruins by South Nabi Lake, Nabi Ruins as I'm dubbing them, and they intrigue me highly. There are only a few homes here, and now a gloom-coated well. Not much. So why have I chose to include this one? Well, for one, because it's unmarked, and that's the focus today. But also because of how peaceful and cute this must have been back in the day. It would have undoubtedly been wiped out during the Great Calamity, and probably in very brutal fashion, as this plain here is connected to the pathway along the Julian Peaks, a place where many guardians flooded to whilst chasing down Link in Princess Zelda. Those that lived here, whether home or not at the time, would have had their homes destroyed in moments. Anybody here in these dire hours, gone in moments. Who lived here? What was life in this open spot like? It was just ripped away from them. It's just so quiet and beautiful, but yet gone. The South Lake just beside it also has a little ruined piece over here. Perhaps whoever lived here tended to this lake or fished here. The well that is now covered in gloom drops down to the depths, and if you follow the jump down, you'll find the water as well as some old buckets, the remains of what once was. I can't really explain why I feel so passionate about these particular ruins. Maybe it's the elegance and destruction that they've left behind. Maybe it's knowing that such a small ruin definitely holds hundreds of stories and memories for those who lived here. That kinda goes for the entire kingdom, to be honest. Despite being near enough destroyed by the Great Calamity of 100 years ago, the scars left on Hyrule's graceful body are so beautiful. Thank you very much for watching this latest adventure into the world lore of Hyrule. If you enjoyed, then be sure to drop a wee like down below, and also consider subscribing to see more Zelda content from myself. Which mysterious ruin did you find the most interesting, and are there any others found throughout the kingdom you'd like to see me talk about? Let me know in the comments. This will be my last regular video of the year, so I really hope it was a good one to end on. I want to say a massive thank you for all of the support this year. It truly means the world to me. I'll have a proper thank you video coming out soon, along with my plans for 2024, so look out for that. But for now, thank you very much for watching. A big thanks also goes to my amazing channel supporters for their financial backing of the channel. It really helps me to make all of this possible, and I appreciate you guys so highly. If you want to support my content beyond watching right here, then check out my supporting links below. Hop in the Discord server if you aren't already, follow my socials to keep up to date, and of course, thanks again for watching. I wish you all an amazing rest of your day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.